Hello, everybody, and welcome to another NPCs Weekly News Roundup for the week of November 20th, 2020. It is Friday. It is, where's my date? It's September 18th, 2020. Here to our first story, and this is actually breaking news for all of us right now here, too. Figured this is a kind of a big one to cover, of course, with who it is. Joined via Discord by Kyle because we're in the midst of a pandemic still, and of course, everything is all kinds of crazy. So, this thing is a chocker. I mean,
yeah, it's a beast.
It's huge. Doing that we had the Resident Evil stuff, that they were successful with Castlevania. Welcome to another NPC's Weekly News Roundup. And it's the news time. I am joined, of course, by Kyle via Discord. Kyle, hello.
What's up?
Man. All right, everybody, guess what? It is time for the NPC's Weekly News Roundup. It is April 9th, 2021. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Twitch's changes to their terms of service, specifically on things that you do outside of streaming. We'll also be talking about Titanfall's appearance coming up here soon in Apex Legends, and we'll also get into the mystery return of the GTX 1080 Ti in the world of graphics card shortages. Again, it is April 9th, 2021, and of course, Kyle's here with me. Kyle, hi, buddy.
What's up?
Oh man, a lot of stuff in the news. A lot of things actually going on this week.
Oh man,
I mean,
yeah.
our title story actually surprised me for sure, and I'm sure itching to get to that one up here very soon. So, let's just hop right into it for tonight, dude. Let's kick things off with our first story here for tonight. From Kotaku, Hearthstone Esports suspends player following abuse allegations, and this is going to tie into the another story here down the line too. Hearthstone Esports announced today that it suspended one of the game's Grandmaster Tournament players, Paul Zele Nemeth, following allegations of domestic abuse. Hearthstone's Esports is aware of allegations made against America Grandmaster Paul Zele Nemeth. Upon further review, we have suspended Zele from competing in all Hearthstone Esports events, Hearthstone Esports wrote in a tweet. Blizzard confirmed in an email to Kotaku that the suspension is for 1 year, but did not provide further comment. Of course, everybody can see the tweet there from Hearthstone themselves. In a tweet longer posted in January, a former partner of Nemeth outlined physical and emotional abuse she says occurred when they were together. The response from Blizzard, the developer and publisher behind Hearthstone and its Grandmasters esports competition, comes after nearly 3 months of silence regarding the accusations and a day before the 2021 Grandmasters seasons begin. Esports site Ivan Global reported that Blizzard told them it was aware of the allegations and were assessing the matter when asked for comment on April 7th. On social media, many Hearthstone fans have expressed relief that Blizzard seems to be taking action at last. So, right there is a picture of Nemeth. So, just in case nobody's ever seen him before, you know, of course, you think with video game stuff, and esports, normally you're just focused on the game. You're not usually focused on the people behind, but there's a lot of things that can happen behind there. And this one kind of was on the top of the list because it really tied into what we'll be talking about with Twitch's changes here soon too, because that's a very interesting thing. I mean, I want to ask you this, Kyle, because this is a very interesting thing, I think, for discussion. We always hear about the abuse, like, I mean, in the last year alone, you know, with the level of things we've heard about abuse from those in the streaming and esports community and people who have been removed from their positions of grandeur and that too. You know, we're still waiting to hear what happened to Dr. Disrespect, you know, what really happened. But of course, everything else allegation wise and such though too has led to a lot of people being pushed away from the streaming platforms, being pushed away from their sponsorships and such too. But we only normally heard about this, a lot of this in regular sporting events, football, basketball. I mean, is this unfortunately the new norm for people in this thing, that they're, you know, I mean, is it potentially those levels of grandeur that that they think they have that power, or what?
Let's pump the brakes there. When you say regular sporting events, you look at things like Hearthstone, like League of Legends, you know, not necessarily where we live, but in other parts of the country and in other countries, that is a major sport.
That's very fair. I'm not fighting you on that one, especially in Korea and South China.
You go to a big arena, you know, there's a big gathering. The two teams get up on stage and you get to watch on a big monitor when there's, you know, commentators and everything. So, I mean, it's really almost getting to be as big as, you know, just your average run of the mill sports, football, soccer, or football. if you live in other countries.
Keeping that stuff right there on the line. Perfect. Good on you.
Yeah,
But no,
but
you're right. You're right.
yeah, I mean, especially, I'm actually surprised you didn't cover the Twitch story first because, this popped up in my news feed this morning, and I was like, it's happening quick, and I think we're gonna see it happen a lot quicker now, with some of the stuff that's coming in under the Twitch channels. I think we're going to see changes, to other platforms as well.
Hmm.
Because it is kind of becoming regular now. We have so many people at home. How can it not become regular?
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. I mean, depending on how far, of course, the abuse allegations really went back anyway, though, too. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. There's always that. It don't have to be in video games for it to happen again. It's everywhere.
Right.
It's just, it seems like it's because gaming, not only your competitive stuff, but your streaming stuff and the level of a following you can build, it seems like there's so much power that gets to everybody's head that I'm kind of glad when we get into the Twitch to the discussion about the Twitch article that we have here tonight and their changes on their policies. That's going to kind of help at least to see how things go here too, because at least there's something kind of happening now too to hopefully get these things addressed faster, so that way the people in the limelight aren't continuing to be able to soak in all that while behind the scenes they're pieces of shit.
Yeah, I think the big events, that when you are a really good player and stuff, or you're
Hmm.
on a really big team, the big events, you go there and it's like everyone's cheering your name. It puts you up on a pedestal, and I think a lot of it does go to these people's heads. So
Hmm. It really does. I mean, you think a lot of the people who are playing these types of games, no offense to anybody out there anyway, but you think for all of us who play video games, maybe not necessarily the best at playing sports or anything like that, and this is what you latched onto, and the tables turned where League of Legends, Hearthstone, with of course this being the game that, oh god, what's his name again? That Nemeth here uh, is really good at, the CS:GO, Overwatch, you name it. It's really flipped the tables now and have become the dominant thing. Especially like you were just saying though too. I mean, in the midst of the pandemic, the last year, you don't have people
mhm.
gathering at sports stadiums, going outside. It's exactly that. So yeah.
Well, and these people, they get boosted up so much, and I'm not trying to point fingers at any one player at this point, but
Mhm.
the behavior carries on outside of the gaming realm because it gets so much to their head.
Exactly. It does, and like maybe that's one thing that kind of opens it up more in the grand scheme of things, that we like one of the problems we have here. I hate to get into like the politics and kind of things on in that realm, especially when we're talking about video game stuff, but it really does lend to a lot of the mental health support that we really need, especially in the
Hmm.
United States, and what people need to do to actually be able to get help, because there are a lot of these things that like are kind of dormant in people, especially who have ways of being able to cope with stuff. But then once they get up there in the limelight, they have some of the fame. They're really good at what they do. That can get to their head and trigger a lot of that stuff that's been repressed for so long and hadn't been properly treated. Now, of course, here we are with someone who actually has been abused. This person is now being removed from their ability to play the game that they're really good at too. So their life is ruined, of course, due to their own mistakes and to their own failures. But it does really lend to a lot of it, and I think for everybody here, especially in the gaming world though too, we're a lot of people who like to sit around our basement. I mean, hell, my little studio setup here is in the basement of my house. That's just one of those things, and that's just one of the that doesn't help. So I think the mental health coverage on that is going to be very important for a lot of people going forward, to hopefully quell some of this and hopefully be able to get people past it. But sometimes you can't fix assholes either, so
Right.
you really can't. But anyway, I didn't mean to get off on a rant like that one there. Just one of those things that as a parent and a husband that, or yeah, parent and a husband, that just stuff that sits around with you. So but anyway, enough on my soapbox there. I will gladly, step down. Oh wait, no, it was just my chair. Sorry. Ugh, that was a really shitty joke. I was trying to do something fun there, and I messed that one up bad. So let's move on here to our next story, and this one's from Polygon. So Kyle, let's talk about this one and some of the chaos behind the scenes, I guess, with The Last of Us for PlayStation 5 and what's going on in Sony's world.
Oh, you want me to cover this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Talk about this.
Yeah. So Bloomberg reports say Sony support studio pushed off The Last of Us remake, leading some to quit. Fans will be happy to hear The Last of Us is getting a remake for PS5, but some developers inside Sony aren't happy with how that came together or what it means for PlayStation's vaulted first-person development going forward, according to a report Friday morning from Bloomberg. The account by Bloomberg's Jason Schreier describes how Sony's visual arts service group, a support-oriented studio located in San Diego, took on a PS5 remake for Sony's 2014's The Last of Us with approval, but without much support from above. Then saw it handed, over to original developer
Ooh, I'm The
Naughty
Last of
Dog.
Us. Ooh, I'm hiding in the closet and
Oh,
scare crap out of you. Sorry, you said haunted, so I'm gonna mess with you on that.
I totally did.
Sorry, go ahead. Go on, man.
The visual arts service group was then relegated to the support role, as well as assigned to help Naughty Dog complete the delayed Last of Us Part 2 that launched last summer for PlayStation 4. As a result, the group's founder left Sony altogether, Bloomberg reports. Polygon has reached out to a PlayStation representative for additional comment. The company declined to comment for Bloomberg's report, which does not say that The Last of Us PlayStation 5 remake is expected. Friday's report describes a senior leadership at PlayStation obsessed with big hits critically as well as commercially. For example, Bloomberg says Sony's Bend Studios pitched for a sequel to 2019's Days Gone was rejected, and part of the studio was told to assist Naughty Dog on two other projects, one of them a new Uncharted game. The Oregon studio is now working on a new game of its own, Bloomberg said. Naughty Dog has been a Sony-owned studio for nearly 20 years, helming two franchises, Uncharted and The Last of Us, that have generated multiple award-winning titles, as well as the television cinematic adaptations. In one light, difference to proven hit maker, especially where its own IP is concerned, is reasonable. But Bloomberg's story notes that the visual arts service group took the initiative to develop The Last of Us PS5 remake, but only got provisional approval to continue with it, and no budget to hire more developers to make it. The report comes on the heels of major shifts at Sony's development arm in Japan in February. Sony Interactive Entertainment recognized that its Japan studio team effectively doing away with the developer and the talent behind smaller and more experimental PlayStation games like Ape Escape, Knack, Gravity Rush, and Loco Roco. Hey, I like a lot of those games. What remains is Team Asobi, the developer behind the Astrobot series, including the built-in PS5 showcase Astro's Playroom. That move signaled the shift from more modestly sized games developed in Sony's home territory to blockbuster Western franchises like God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon, and The Last of Us. Adaptations are decked for The Last of Us as an HBO television series and Uncharted as a long-awaited feature film that is set to premiere in February 2022. Naughty Dog co-president Neil Druckmann, the writer and creative director on The Last of Us and its sequel, is an executive producer on the HBO series.
Well then, so
Yeah.
we've got at least a supposedly that we're gonna get a Last of Us remake, but it's at the cost of tearing apart a sub studio to work on it, telling them thanks but no thanks on the pitch for a sequel to Days Gone, and then even tearing that away and giving it back to Naughty Dog to have them work it and just move to a support role. That's pretty demoralizing right there.
Yeah.
That hurts. But what has got to be going on with Sony there? Because not only like you mentioned, they're like Japan studios, of course, got completely decimated. And now, of course, we've got, let's see, what was the name of this sub studio here again? This is, let's see, Sony's Visual Arts Service Group. Yeah, I don't know exactly what they may have done there in the past, if anything. Okay, they helped with at least Last of Us Part 2, like you were saying, but it just overall, it's like, what is going on in Sony's realm? Like, are they concerned about the Microsoft acquisition of Bethesda and things like Elder Scrolls and Doom and Fallout and that kind of moving under the House of Green? You know, what could be going on back there that's causing a lot of this?
I don't know. I think it's them. I think it is them seeing Xbox make waves, and they're getting scared.
They must
I don't
be.
know that they need to necessarily, but if they take missteps at this point with putting out the wrong titles, I think that might affect them. But in doing this, I think they're being counterintuitive.
I think so, because Sony's strongest point, and we've talked about this many times, especially with Preston, is that Sony's always been really good about their exclusives. Been always really good, and that's been their main selling point. Microsoft's kind of recycled and rehashed a few things here and there. They're starting to maybe get better in one way, but overall, though, is at least Sony's had that. And it seems like they're over focusing on those exclusives. I mean, obviously, you want a good quality Uncharted. You want a good quality God of War. You want a good quality Last of Us. You know, any of the expansions that can go with it, any sequels, any prequels, whatever. You want the quality to be there, especially if you've set that standard for those game series. You don't want anything to be a rotten egg. But it seems like they've kind of overlooked a lot of the other things going on in the Sony world that just, I don't know. I think this is going to end up probably hurting them in the long run. Are they going to make a lot of money? Probably, but you know, you focus on only a few core titles, or you can end up just making things worse for yourself.
I don't know. I just think it's a little ironic that Sony is making this crazed shift to the West, closing their Japan studio and, saying goodbye to all these titles that they had. And at the same time, you got Xbox doing exactly the opposite.
Well,
what's going on?
Yeah, like I'm curious here, like Xbox Series X sales in Japan. I'm just curious just to see here if there's any numbers here. Let's see. So from December of 2020, let's see. At this point in time, it says that the X and S had sold. Where are you? I just had it here. God, it was highlighted here. Yeah, Microsoft's new Xbox, the Series S and X, sold 1,487 units in Japan total, at least at that point in time, of which Xbox Series X hit 1,429 units. The data shows that PS4 sales, even those alone, are more than twice of the Xbox Series X and S there. So,
but it is also ironic too, because you think about it, Sony has stated that they have pulled production of some of the units that they're putting out in Japan, so they can actually put out more units in the US. So that I mean, and it's still selling like crazy over there. I don't know why they'd want to pull the production. I mean, they've always been the bigger seller over there, and I do understand that they want to reach all their fans, but I don't know. This might be a big turnoff to some of the Eastern market, I think.
Yeah, and that's what my biggest concern is with Sony, is because that seems to alienate a lot of their core market. I mean, Sony's worldwide anyway, but a lot of the games that come out, especially the stuff in Japan, comes from those sub studios, and I think starting to gut those and start to get away from them, especially like you said, Ape Escape, I think, was one of the games on the list. And
oh yeah, that was a great game.
Loco Roco. Yeah, it's just like they don't have to be these big, crazy, exciting AAA titles, because the other ones also still sell really well. Right, excuse me. But that's what just really confuses me as to what could be going on with Sony. So it's going to be interesting to see how things turn out in the next year, or if it's going to take a little bit longer. I mean, we're still waiting even on product to actually become available in the first place.
Right.
That's one of the other things. I mean, it's not like they're not making money. We saw their financials earlier this year. We talked about it. So I don't know, just so bizarre. So if we do actually end up getting in more info, folks, we'll bring it back to you in another news live stream. So let's move on here to our next story, and this is what we were talking about with the first story with the Hearthstone Grandmaster player being banned because of the abuse allegations. This story comes to us from Wired. Twitch will act on serious offenses that happen off-platform. The new policy holds streamers to account for what happened on other services and in real life. Let's see. I think it's because, yep, I think I'm going to go ahead and flip over here really quick. My ad blocker, I think, is what's kind of kicking my ass here really quick. Let me go ahead and refresh that here. It's always what happens. I think, let's see, can I even get it back up here? I had this up when I was actually doing all these different things for work and getting things going here. Son of a gun. All right, let me go ahead and get a different one here. Let's see, Twitch, investigative partner. Sorry, folks. Like I said, I was hoping to actually be able to talk about that one, but we'll just jump back over here to another Polygon article and just go that way. And I will work on the stuff with Wired here for the future. So apologies for that. But yeah, so looking at the story here from Polygon then. On Wednesday, Twitch announced an expansion of its hateful content and harassment policy that takes into account behavior taking place off the platform. A blog post from the company shared that it is bringing on a third-party investigative partner to support Twitch's internal team with investigations and to help enforce off-platform violations. Per Twitch's post, the new partner is an experienced investigations law firm that will help the company to more thoroughly investigate and respond to reports of off-service misconduct. In addition to adding sheer numbers to the team that investigates incident reports, the post also shared that there will be a dedicated email address for people to report egregious off-service misconduct. While disciplining users for off-platform behavior isn't new to Twitch, inappropriate behavior off the platform has led to bans since 2018. The addition will beef up existing policies that the company started enforcing in January 2020. Prior to the announcement, it was unclear how the company would address off-platform violations. The post elaborated on two categories of off-service enforcement. Category 1, someone is harassed on Twitch as well as off Twitch. When this happens, we will take into account verifiable off-service behaviors or statements that relate to an incident that took place on Twitch. For example, if we're reviewing a harassment report about an incident that happened live on stream, related or continued harassment on Twitter could be taken into account when reported to us. This is how our current off-service policy works in the vast majority of cases and will not change. Category 2. We will now enforce against serious offenses that pose a substantial safety risk to the Twitch community, even if those actions occur entirely off Twitch. So I'll go ahead and jump over here to our thumbnail part and kind of finish up this little bit here where it says the newly expanded enforcement will be focusing on some of the most egregious types of physical and psychological harm, including but limited to deadly violence and violent extremism, carrying out or acting as an accomplice to non-consensual sexual activities and or sexual assault and sexual exploitation of children, which, to be perfectly honest with you, that's been kind of the gamut of things that we have seen reported, at least that we've been talking about in the last year with the news, in the streaming community, in the streaming world, and of course the esports world too. So summarize it, that if you are a Twitch streamer and you are doing something on stream that you are, that you really shouldn't be doing, especially harassment wise, like, you're trolling somebody in your chat or, anything like that. I'm sure there's a whole other things I could think of right now, but of course my brain's not working. They could go back and look at your off Twitch accounts, information, whatever they could get to, and also make a determination based on that, which means that your outside of Twitch actions have consequences for your streaming life. And I'm sure that stuff will carry over if you want to stream on other platforms like YouTube, Facebook gaming, and I guess whatever else exists out there anymore. So long time coming to see this, but it's the same rules that, that I have for my job and Kyle you have for your job, that, if you're not necessarily representing the company in some manner that you work for, but you're a complete tool and a douchebag and do something outside of work, I wouldn't be surprised to see that get back to, your boss there, and that might definitely change some things for your employment. You know, it's
Right.
yeah, it's good that at least there are going to be some of those consequences like that people actually can now kind of understand what it's like, that if you're a full-time streamer, that is your job. It's like you've got a brand to uphold. Is not only your own, but you're also a representative of the streaming platform you're on. So think a little bit better about what you're doing with yourself. Get yourself the help you need, and swear to God, don't be a dick.
Yeah.
TLDR, that's what all this is. Man, all the things going on in the world that have to deal with harassment and abuse and everything. Just stop it. Just be nice to everybody, please. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, especially, I mean, some people have to take a step back. And would you talk to your parents that way? Would you talk to your kids that way, or act that way to family members? Probably not. So you probably shouldn't do it to other people.
If it's something that
So
would offend your grandma, what would it do to the what would it do to the
probably
people there?
shouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So yeah, but if you want to read more on what has been talked about from Twitch, they definitely do go into more detail. Go check out their blog post on their site, on their like their corporate site is where they have a lot of that. They kind of consider more like press releases though too. So go take a look at that. There's definitely a lot more details onto the things that are going to be going on. But let's jump into our next story here, and this is actually our title story for tonight. A very interesting one, especially because this is something that's been getting asked for a while. Kyle, let's talk about this. You're gonna read off this story here for us from Dextro.com. Apex Legends leak seemingly reveals Blisk abilities and a Titan ultimate. What is happening?
Titans appear to be coming to Apex Legends.
Woo!
Kinda. The huge set of Apex Legends leaks were originally posted as still images by insider the Neon Beast, popular battle royale data miner. Bias 12 shared both text and gameplay video versions soon after. In both sets of leaks, it appears an upcoming character believed to be Blisk deploys a Titan in the training yard. Dextro has to be told the video is allegedly from a test build, quote unquote. Um, in the video game, or in the video filmed on Nintendo Switch, the deployed Titan sprays bullets after landing, then activates a Bloodhound style scan. It walks behind the player. After a moment, the Auto Titan stops moving and self destructs. The ultimate reads Blisk summons an Auto Titan to suppress an area. And then, of course, we have the images standby for Titanfall and Blisk's abilities. The Legends passive and tactical were also included in bias text based leak. His passive pilot kit allows Blisk to hack survey beacons using data knife. Like all recon characters, he can also wall run according to the leak. Blisk's leaked tactical abilities appear to work in a similar fashion to a ring flare, grenades from a Ring Fury LTM, which was introduced in Season 8. The leak says he created a damage zone powered by the area's ring. In fitting with the founder's status, Blisk's tactical is called My Ring, My Rules. The grenade ability appears for a moment. Appears for a moment at the end of the leaked Switch video. Sorry, I can't read tonight. For now, while these leaks are exciting, it's worth taking them into a hefty helping of skepticism. Respawn has previously pledged to never bring Titanfall 2's lumbering robot warriors to their battle royale, and wall running was given a similar red cross by Apex Legend devs. It's very unlikely we'd ever be put wall running on a full Legend, the developer said back in October 2020. Anecdotally, people absolutely love the constant sugar high of Titanfall multiplayer, but then also very quickly burned out on it. That said, these new Apex Legends leaks, especially the Switch gameplay video, do appear to be quite convincing. Keep your eyes peeled for Respawn's reply.
I think that if that's a test build, they are way too far into that to being a test build. I think there's too much actually going on in there for that just to be a straight up test.
Right.
That's got to be something coming down the line soon. And it's been asked for a long time now, ever since Apex Legends dropped and as the lore is built out, that everything is in the same universe as the two Titanfall games. Where are the Titans and where's the wall running? Wall running, what I could honestly care less about that. It's the Titans.
Wall running, I think they could explain, because that they did kind of explain it, that it was exclusive, that pilots were able to do that in Titanfall 2.
Mm-hmm.
And or they went at least a little bit more in depth into it. I want to say it was right in the training mission that they kind of go over it. So
yeah, and I mean every single person that's actually every single hero that you can have here in Apex Legends anyway they're not pilots. So of course, pilot being an actual
like mercenaries or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly, there's a designation for pilot. So this makes sense that Blisk must be some sort of retired pilot who still has access to a Titan and can use that at least as an ability. Because it's just really cool though to see that at least the Titans are finally going to make an appearance in one way or another. Even if you can't get in one, at least you have the Sentry mode for a Titan.
Right.
It's just a long time coming.
Make the stories more cohesive. Maybe some lead into some Titanfall 3.
Oh God, don't do that to me. I don't know if my hope. Oh, man, that no. Let's just not talk about that right now. I'm gonna have to go change my pants here in a minute. So
geez.
one could really hope for it, but oh God, yeah. Well, it'd be nice if they did actually kind of tie this into it, but I think we're still kind of reaching for a Titanfall 3 right now, but I would really, really, really love to see something come up here soon for it. So let's just hope that maybe we actually do see something, maybe especially with E3 around the corner, that we'll actually get some new trailers or something to actually talk about with it. So fingers crossed, maybe we will see some Titanfall 3.
It's not entirely unheard of that, something like this has happened in the past in video games where, they're like, oh, here's this little hint. We might not actually do anything with it, but it might turn into something in a couple years.
Of course, exactly. Oh,
man.
Which,
it's kind of a kick in the teeth when they do it, because it's always like, oh, yeah, nothing's really going to happen. And then 2 years later, it's like, well, thanks, guys.
Well, how long did we wait for how long did it take for us to really get a Final Fantasy VII remaster and all the teases that came up for it? It's like, is that going to be our Titanfall 3, like our new Titanfall 3 now, that it's going to take that long for it to show up? I know. Trust me. I don't want to say it, but it could happen.
I think Respawn, maybe if this isn't something that it's blown up so big with the fans, and people are writing articles about it. People obviously are reporting on it. That Titanfall and Apex, maybe it is time that they put it out. And that especially with ray tracing and stuff, I think we'd see some really, really cool graphical upgrades in Titanfall.
Yeah, and I think even bring in a Titan like battle royale mode where you actually have Titans. Just put 100 Titans on a map and just do that.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. And if you could survive as a pilot, you could cause another Titanfall.
Yeah, I think that's how it needs to be. You start out Titan, you go down to pilot. If you can survive long enough to spawn in another one, then you just keep going. keep looping that way. That would make for a long
game. Even if you have to
hunker
down in a building and
exactly
just, wait it out.
Potentially,
really cool.
Add in some destructive environments, so you might be able to hide in that shipping container. But as soon as a Titan steps on it, you might get screwed.
Boom. Yeah. That'd be neat.
Okay, we can't talk about this anymore because I will have to go change my pants. So let's move on to something else to talk about here that is a little exciting, maybe not so much. I guess we'll leave that up to you guys there. From Engadget, Amazon's Luna 720p streams will help you play with poor connectivity. Your data cap might not be as much of an issue. It's great that some game streaming services let you stream at 1080p or even 4K, but that's not much good if you're worried about data caps or a sluggish connection. Amazon is coming to that realization, thankfully. It just introduced a 720p option for its Luna service that can reduce data consumption while maintaining smooth gameplay. You only have to visit the Settings tab in Luna to toggle the lower resolution. Luna isn't the only game streaming platform with 720p, of course. Google, Stadia, and Microsoft's xCloud have made it available for a while, and in xCloud case, it has been the default. Amazon's move could make Luna viable if you previously had to rule it out, though, and it might make the most sense if you frequently play on your phone and might not miss 1080p as much as you would on your TV. So a short, sweet, to the point article there about Luna. I know Kyle has probably already run over his Stadia controller, or maybe you've resold it to buy,
No, I still
another
have
graphics
it.
card.
Actually, oh, I thought it was right here.
I was like,
It's
who
somewhere
keeps it
close
down
by.
there? I was like, you were about like to
I,
reach under your desk. It's like, who
well,
keeps a Stadia controller there?
well, my computer's over here on like it's like a TV stand, and
Okay, I
my
was gonna say
Xbox
because
is underneath my computer with a couple controllers. I
okay,
thought
because
it
you
was
keep.
underneath there,
I
but
was gonna
it's
say because
not.
you keep Xbox controllers. I know you can't see this until it actually comes up on the stream, but it's like I mean I keep Ultrazords under my desk, so you know. I mean, I to be perfectly honest, I don't actually know why this is under my desk. I think I just forgot to put them back up. But see, you keep controllers under your desk. I keep Ultrazords under mine.
See, I
So
instead I keep things like Game and Watch. So I don't know.
for the moment you get bored and you want to crawl under your desk and hide from the world, so you can play a couple little games and such. I get you. I get you.
Right.
The world's a scary place, Kyle.
But
But
no, I like the Stadia controller. I wish it had compatibility with other stuff. So
yeah, what a hell of an investment, especially if you had to pay for it and you can't use it for anything else.
right.
But okay, so Amazon's now doing the 720p thing with Luna. I guess that's a good thing, especially for the lower, for any concern about data caps. Because if you're playing on, like, if you're actually taking Luna on the go, like I do with Xbox's game streaming, playing 720p game on a phone is not that bad. Once you get into those
No.
screens that are like, once you start getting above like 7 inches in screen size, like I'm talking like you're playing on your larger tablets, like we'll say like your iPad Pros, your Samsung Galaxy tabs, anything up to about from just above 7 inches, so that 10 to 12 inch and above. That's where you're going to start running into those real noticeable artifacts, or at least the digitizing on the screen as the game is, only streaming in at 720p and you're rendering on a screen that's technically capable of the, 2K to 4K resolution. So it is
Hmm.
good that at least this is there and it makes sense, especially for phones. A little surprised that Amazon didn't have this right from the start. I mean, you think
Yeah.
Amazon knows
I
better.
mean,
They
of
do
all
enough stuff with
people.
video. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. That was my thought. They
Hmm.
have, or they've had their Prime Video service for how long now? Um, Granted,
Exactly.
it's not the
Exactly.
greatest as far as formatting goes, but it's plenty usable, and it's by far not the worst as far as that platform goes. But I mean, it does go to show that they have some things figured out with it. Why couldn't they figure out that, yeah, you might need a little lower quality video to get by?
Yeah. And again, I mean, like my Pixel here, my 4A 5G doesn't have
Mm.
much in regards to like a quality screen or anything. So, it looks good. But yeah, if I play a game on there for game streaming, like that 720p setting on there is perfect. That's just
See,
fine.
and I've got the Note 20 Ultra, and it's got a really nice screen. Now I've noticed some screen tearing when I do like game streaming and stuff, but I mean that just comes with the nature of the beast. But as far as quality goes, I mean, if it dropped in quality, I don't think I would notice the difference, even on the little bit larger screen.
I
Um,
think I would think if you're playing something more story based, like something that was a little bit more slower paced, like if Little Nightmares, as an example,
mhm.
was like something on there, or if you're playing like you're going back in time and playing something like I know this is a silly one to drop, but it came up because I was watching a Markiplier video earlier today. Was Limbo. You know, if you're playing something that's
Those games
slower.
work the best, honestly.
Right. And it's just if it's something that's slower paced, you're not going to really notice it. But if you're playing something that's faster, like say you're playing because it's on there with EA Play.
Control
Say
or
you are playing
Assassin's Creed.
Control, Assassin's Creed, Titanfall 2, Halo, anything that has a lot of like the fast-paced movement. Gears is even one too. Even if you are,
Mhm.
running slow, everything can still be pretty quick. That's where you're going to run into your problem. So
Right.
I think it's good that they finally did address that. Why it took so long, whatever. But at least it's there now. And for those of you who are using Luna, which I don't actually know anybody who's using Luna. Are you losing Una? What the fuck? I can't speak. Are you if
I
anybody's
think
using
I
Luna,
am. I think
do
I
you
am
actually have a
because I've been collecting free games from Amazon, And the by far, none of them are really great titles. I think they've only given out like one AAA title for free. But on my
Okay.
laptop, I have an Amazon gaming app downloaded. Just another gaming platform to have.
I think that's more of like a launcher similar to Steam. So anything you do get through
See,
them
and
that's digital, then that's
that's what
just
I
all
kind
it
of
is.
wondered.
Yeah, unless it
But
ties into
here,
Luna, you'll have to look.
here's the thing that I was going to bring up.
Mm-hmm.
So they bring up data caps in the article.
Mm-hmm.
At what point are we going to see all these streaming services come to the internet providers and go, "Hey guys, we need to talk. We're like we should be one of the best tech countries out there and our internet sucks. What's going on?"
You're not wrong. You're really not
Because
wrong. And
really and truly, I
yeah,
mean, it is, there's no cohesion in the United States as far as internet. There's some
no.
states that have no data caps, and there's some states that have data caps that are so low you can barely download a game
And we live,
in a month. And if you
yeah.
download the game, you're not playing it online.
And we even live in a place where, like we live in a internet desert is what I'll call it. Is that we've
Hmm.
got for at least high speed internet, we have one provider we can choose from. I mean, the Starlink beta just opened up here in Cheyenne, so you can go and get, you can go and sign up for that, which is $500 to get the equipment, and then $100 a month to actually pay for it, and it's not bad. But
Hmm.
besides doing that and then Spectrum, that's it. That's, everything else, unless you live in a part of town that's been like newly developed, you're not going to get anything above maybe 50 megabits per second, like down
Yep.
and maybe like 3 or 4 up. So if you're in a house that is as busy as mine, as an example, with, 3 kids, 2 dogs, yeah, 3 kids, 2 dogs, a cat, everybody seems to be connected to the internet. Even the dogs and cats are connected to the internet in one way or another, watching them with the camera and stuff, make sure everything's fine. But
Right.
I'm just saying, it's like you got so much data going on in one house. It's like any of those other options you can't do. So, yeah, it's like if I had to resort to saying, okay, game streaming is the only way I can play games, and I had to go with something, if Luna wouldn't kill my speed for everybody else on the network, then okay, that's an option. But everybody else was doing it, so I guess it depends on the amount of games they have and the variety, to actually
Hmm.
make it worthwhile. So, I good on them for doing that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. These companies need to actually get with the ISPs, the backbones, level 3, all that, to say, hey,
Yeah.
let's work out some sort of mutual agreement here to be able to do this. However, then you start to run into those weird things. And again, I'm just making this a quick thing on the politics part, is just net neutrality becomes kind of those weird issues because you want to treat traffic the same. So
Right.
it's another one of those interesting things that kind of brings up. But I won't talk about that though right now. I'm not doing that. My soapbox has been pushed away. What I will do though is I will go ahead and take us over to our next story, because we did promise in our last news stream we're going to be bringing up a lot more stuff on like tech hardware and that too. So we actually have two PC ish articles here to talk about, and these are actually some interesting ones, especially one for best bang for your buck and the other one to talk about a return of a classic device here too. So Kyle, you should tell us all about this article here from Windows Central and the new Alienware laptop.
The Alienware M15 Ryzen Edition R5 is an AMD NVIDIA combo over a decade in the making. The Alienware M16 Ryzen Edition, or M15 Ryzen Edition R5, excuse me, is on the way. It's distinctive for being the first Alienware notebook to feature NVIDIA graphics alongside AMD processors since the Aurora M ALX in 2007. But
Wow.
that's not the only first for the M15 is packing. It's also the first 15-inch Alienware notebook to have a 3200 megahertz DDR4 memory, and the first to be finished with a new paint formula engineered for heightened stain resistance. Woohoo!
Anti-Cheeto dust collection. Woohoo.
Right? I mean, your stain resistance on plastic? Um, I guess.
I've got a
Other
reason why, but you keep going. Keep going. You're
I've got
good.
some reasons why too, but
Keep going.
um, other interesting tidbits about the M15 Ryzen Edition R5 include its cherry-based ultra-low profile mechanical keyboard with a 1.8 millimeter total key travel and per key Alien FX customizable lighting.
Alien
The
FX
notebook
lighting.
oh yeah. The notebook employs Alienware's cryotech cooling technology, meaning you hopefully won't have to worry about the machine heating up your fingers while you type. Well, I've had a laptop that did that.
Mm-hmm.
The M15 specs were leaked a few weeks ago before there was even confirmation that the laptop was real. Now we can confirm the gaming laptop is indeed real and its specs line up with the leaks. Here's a full breakdown. And of course, we've got the operating system is Windows 10, either Home or Pro.
Mm-hmm.
The processor, a Ryzen R7 5800H, or we've got the Ryzen R9 5900HX, and an NVIDIA RTX 3060 or 3070. So that's where some of those cards are going.
At least parts of
The
them.
yeah, the 15-inch display is either an FHD 360 hertz with NVIDIA G-Sync, or a QHD 240 hertz with NVIDIA G-Sync. Or also they do have an FHD 165 hertz with 300 nit on that one.
Okay.
Memory capacities are either 8, 16, or 32 gig, all DDR4, running at 3200 megahertz. Storage ranges anywhere from a 256 gig PCI M.2 up to a 4 terabyte, 2 times terabyte PCI M.2 SSD.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So
So they
some
raid
good
the shit out
storage
of
on
that.
that one.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Then we have the Alienware camera, being an Alienware HD 1280 by 720 resolution camera, with Windows Hello IR support, Wi-Fi 6 enabled wireless adapter with 2.5 gigabits Ethernet. Um, we've got an HDMI port, 2.5 gigahertz Ethernet port, two USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports, one USB 3.2 Gen 2 port, and a 3.2 Gen 2 Type C port.
Mm-hmm.
So actually a pretty decent, actually that seems standard for some laptops depending on the gaming series you get.
Yeah.
Global headset jack, and then of course your DC port. Battery lithium ion, of course, with an 86 hour battery, or WHR. I'm trying to remember what
86
the
watt
W
hour.
stands. Watt hour, duh.
Yeah.
um, the thing is tiny though, at a 10.73 by 14.2 and 0.8996 inches. So
Just under an
it's a
inch thick
slim
then.
guy. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty slim.
But it.
And even compared to my laptop that only came out like what 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we've got to talk about the colors. The dark side of the moon with the high endurance
Jesus
clear coat.
Christ.
So, of course, the staining, I make fun of it because it's a black laptop. Working in a pawn shop, however, cigarette stains are a real thing and they're really gross. Please don't smoke next to your computer. It kills your components anyway.
Yeah, really. Yeah, don't do that.
But aside from that, I don't understand the need for it. Are we really being pigeonholed as gamers to being the Cheeto dust fingered, Mountain Dew sipping creeps that stare at a screen for 13 hours a day?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
all being said, the select configurations start at 1793 US. So actually 1794 if you count the change US. The M15 Ryzen Edition and R5's visual styling should be familiar to anyone who's had time with the previous M15 models. Seems to be a classic case. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, since its design holds up well today as it has before. Classic Alienware style. Though it's snazzy on the surface, only time will tell if Alienware M15 Ryzen Edition R5 is truly among the best Alienware laptops. Given that it can pack up to an NVIDIA RTX 3070, the odds are good that it'll be a heavyweight contender ready to compete with any other gaming laptops on the market.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to look at this here. Let's see. So it said that it was going to be either packing a 3060 8 gig or a 3070 8 gig. So I'm on Dell's website right now looking at the configurations. I'll bring this up here for everybody to take a look at this. Because what I'm trying to do is figure out exactly where things stand here. So it looks like they don't have anything up yet, specifically talking about the Ryzen model, where you can actually pick the Ryzen 7 or Ryzen 9. But just kind of looking at least at a comparable one that comes with like a 3070 by default, 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM at 2933 megahertz. I mean, you're talking about a starting price of about $1,900. So if this comes,
not bad.
Yeah, that's with a 3070 though too. So the interesting part then, I wonder if because of maybe some other things they did, or maybe it's the price with the RAM though too, given the it's 3200 megahertz. I wonder if
the
they.
one thing to consider too, though, is with everything going on in the electronics market, with the shortages, with the tariffs, right now it is better to go with a gaming laptop. Honestly, for pound, bang for your buck, you're gonna spend on the laptop on average. Well, I mean, you said it was 1900 for roughly about the specs with the 16 gigs of RAM. So that's what I spent on my 3090. Was right around $1,900. So just for the video card, you're getting all the components and the video card.
Yeah. And
so I mean, really and truly, I mean, this is, people need to really look at the gaming laptops for probably about the next 2 years, I think.
Well, and there was something too about this version of the Alienware laptops that had come out about repairability and part swapping out. And I can't remember if the GPU was actually soldered onto the board or if it's actually a separate board that interfaces with the motherboard. So you can actually like open up the bottom of it and potentially swap that sucker out.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
There was one of them, though. I mean, this looks very familiar as being the case, but I'm going to have to go back and try to research that for myself later on. But if you're a person who's out in the market looking for a laptop right now, especially something gaming-wise, this definitely looks like a good choice, especially because like some of your display ports and your power port are all on the back of the laptop instead of right there in along the sides, help to free up some things. It did not say if that USB Type-C 3.2 port was also DisplayPort compatible, so there's no mention if you can actually hook up a display to it, but might just take a little bit of extra research to see if that could potentially be the case.
Well, and being a Gen 2 port, it could be something as small as a driver update to unlock it too.
Very well could be. It's going to depend more so, I guess, on what is actually in the cards itself. Like what's actually going to work. But I don't know. It looks like a really sweet thing. I'm really jonesing for upgrading at least my motherboard and processor on my computer right now, my gaming rig, but I can't do it yet because the stuff is just not there for me to do, at least financially. So I gotta just wait until things get back to normal MSRP. In the meantime, because of course the shortages are killing us all, let's talk about someone went and grabbing a shovel and digging up, I hate to call it a dinosaur, but it's kind of is.
Almost.
Yeah, I know, almost. All right, so let's talk about this story here from PC Gamer. This was a little bit of a surprise out of left field. NVIDIA's GeForce GTX 1080 Ti might be back in production. Rumors point to an EVGA replacement card serial number having a 2021 manufacturer code. Buying a GPU right now is a real feat. Apparently, though, sending in an old GPU for RMA could yield a brand new 2021 model NVIDIA GTX 1080 Ti. Yes, brand new versions of these 4-year-old Pascal graphics cards may have been spotted, cards that we all assumed were no longer being manufactured, having been superseded by the RTX 2080 et al. And that could mean the GTX 1080 Ti is another old card making a comeback. So I'll bring this up here so people can see this then as well. In this age, the age of the great GPU drought, times are tough. It seems each attempt made by manufacturers to alleviate the GPU stock pressures has been met with either backlash or downright failure. Thanks to an increasingly rising demand for tech over the course of the pandemic, alongside increased profitability of cryptocurrencies and component shortages galore, the dream of landing a GPU at any time this year for anything near MSRP has been placed firmly onto the back burner for the majority of prospective buyers. But there may be a light at the end of the tunnel. As hinted through a forum post on Quasar Zone via Notebook Check, NVIDIA could indeed be resurrecting the GTX 1080 Ti. We've had the promise of the GTX 1650 making a comeback on the desktop, but the GTX 1080 Ti is a more tempting prospect, though as a 4-year-old GPU, it is one which remains a rather damning indictment of the state of the graphics card industry. The original post outlines the story of a user who returned their GTX 1080 Ti EVGA SC, still under warranty, only to receive a newly manufactured one in return. After the post was spotted, Harukaze 5719 tweeted confirmation that the serial op the number sent over points to the card as a 2021 model. We thought the company might have just had some extra stock left over from the cards before they were discontinued, but EVGA appears to have gone back to manufacturing. If true, this is most certainly good news. We're talking about a GPU with performance numbers just shy of the Turing-based GeForce RTX 2080 and the more recent RTX 3060 Ti. With 3D Mark TimeSpy averages scores of 10,009, the GTX 1080 Ti is still a super relevant card today. It may mean you have to forgo the effervescence of DLSS and ray tracing, but with the base clock speeds of 1.56 GHz and the potential to tune up to 1.67 GHz, these cards could take on even the heaviest AAA games today. So it's simple enough to at least say that it looks like we might be having a old card make a return here, very soon, which would be awesome. That would be kind of cool.
This is kind of crazy that this is finally coming like truly to light. Because if you remember, like 3 weeks ago, I said I had heard a rumor that someone's gonna be producing old cards again.
Well,
I don't know if you remember or not, but
we did talk about some of that because what was it? We were seeing like NVIDIA really kind of turned back the clock a bit and said we're going to start releasing GTX 1050 Ti's and the 1650. So there's been a lot of talk about those cards starting to come back again. Of course, those are more of like your low range filler cards anyway. Like if you need something to game on, that's what you're going to use. You're not going to really have much else at that point in time, at least until you can afford to buy something much more. But
to see the 1080, you have a whole series of processors that require a video card because they have no onboard graphics.
Yeah. So, which I wish AMD would get their shit together and come out with some really good Ryzen APUs, because if they can truly like pack Big Navi into an APU, you could have yourself a pretty killer Nook type processor and SoC there to actually work with. But
if only.
Yeah, if only. But I mean, if the 1080 Ti is coming back out, I mean, the TimeSpy scores there are definitely on point with it to compare, because the RTX 2080, which I didn't read off on here, has a score of 11,117, and the 3060 Ti has a score of 11,857. So it definitely puts it close. I mean, not necessarily like close, but enough that if you're going to play at 1080p on high settings, for most games that are out there right now, you're not going to have a problem. You're just missing out on a few features.
You think about it, when gamers are trying to get those frames, especially pro gamers, they're not going for the graphics. They're going for the frames. So they're turning stuff down anyway so they can get frames, because in a competition, 1 or 2 frames can make a difference.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, especially for those ones that require the extra speed, CSGO being a big example.
Absolutely.
A big example. So, Kyle, close us out here on this one for tonight. We got one last story for all of you, and if anybody's shocked by this, you definitely are not paying attention to anything that's going on. So, Kyle, wrap us up here. Talk to us about this story from The Verge and what's going on with E3 in 2021.
E3 is going digital this summer. Will return in person next year. The all-digital event takes place in June. E3 2021 will take place June 12th to the 15th this year as a free, reimagined all-virtual event. The Entertainment Software Association announced today Uh, Organizers announced that the lineup includes companies such as Nintendo, Xbox, Capcom, Konami, Ubisoft, Take-Two Interactive, and Warner Brothers Games. Sony is notably missing from the list so far, as per usual. E3 gaming's biggest annual conference in North America typically takes place downtown LA every June and attracts a mix of developers, press, and consumers. Last year's event was canceled in April due to COVID 19. In its absence, Jeff Keighley launched Summer Games Fest in partnership with many developers to deliver games, reveals, and news. The digital event is also returning this June. E3 is expected to resume in person next summer. ESA president and CEO Stanley Pierre Lewis says the organization is evolving this year's E3 into a more inclusive event that will still include game of reveals and news. The organization confirmed in February that it will hold an online event only this year.
So, one thing that we didn't talk about, because this was a story I think last week too, is that the ESA was under a bit of fire because they were actually going to be making this a paid event where you actually had to pay to get like a digital ticket to go and attend the conferences, watch the videos, do all that. But because of a lot of the backlash, and actually some of the companies had stepped up and said this isn't cool. It's like there's no reason for you guys to be needing to go crazy to make money for people to attend something that they're not actually going to be going to. You're not renting any venues or anything to do this. Or at least are on the scale of the Los Angeles Convention Center. So they did
But to
that.
the
That's
same
what.
effect, I have heard, other polls that other creators have done that, if they were to do a paid event, say, the whole thing was free, but if you paid, you get to play a demo of Elden Ring after a showing. How many
Okay,
people
see
would
that's
pay then?
yeah, see that
You
that
know,
I can actually handle. Like if there is some sort of benefit to it other than just being able to get in there and watch the trailers and watch the press conferences and that. Okay, that's one
or
thing.
if you
But
if you
yeah,
got a digital goodies for games like, in past years, I want to say Ubisoft has always given out like codes for their games at E3 at
mm-hmm,
PAX for you get a Rainbow Six patch or you get a Ghost Recon skin or something, and it's specific to those events.
mm-hmm.
Now, if they did it like a pack of goodies or maybe even something that they sent you, uh, maybe it would be worth it. Maybe they could generate some profit off of it. I know it kind of becomes a little touchy in that at that point, but as long as the consumers are getting something back, besides just being able to gain access to something that someone's going to put on the internet anyway 10 minutes after they watch it because they rip the data or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and
Or they live
data
stream it
miners,
them. They live
24
stream it.
hours. Exactly.
Yeah.
Or even if it's behind the paywall, data miners, 24 hours later, they put it out on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see a problem with them charging a small fee if there is something that's legitimate that they're giving back to the gamers that are going,
Yeah,
or
but it looked like
that are
at
going to
least.
be looking at stuff.
Yeah, but
So
it looked like at least in this case, with all the information that had been shared so far, there wasn't going to be anything like that. It was at
right,
that
and I
point that we
think
weren't
that
going
was
to be
the
seeing
big
anything
issue.
new. Yeah. So at least there's been the backpedaling on that. That's what they're going to be doing. So E3 will still carry on. And then, of
Hmm.
course, they said if they're only going to be doing it as the online thing for this year, then 2022 comes around. Maybe Kyle and I we can actually load up and go to E3 or something and go in 2022 to Los Angeles and have ourselves some fun there on the floor and bring you the news live from the E3 show floor. But pipe dreams.
That's I'm sure it has for you too, but it's been a dream of mine since I was a young kid.
That and PAX, especially. Those two
Oh
are the big
yeah.
ones. Yeah. So yeah, don't worry, I'm right there with you, 100%. Uh, but at least it is going to happen still. It looks like what's going to be happening though, even outside of E3, of course, is that Sony's not going to be there. But what we saw last year, I think, with like the shadow drops of Nintendo Directs and trailers and stuff, Nintendo's going to be hitting pretty hard with things this year too. I think Microsoft is still going to be carrying on with like almost their every couple month Xbox Insiders. events where they're going to actually be showing off some of the new things. Of course, we'll hopefully have more info on Halo coming up here soon too. On top of that, though, there's all the separate reveals and events that are going to be happening anyway. So I think we're going to kind of see a model similar to last year, at least up through probably about maybe September. And then we're going to start seeing more of that return to in-person things, of course, as vaccination rates go up and such. But at least it's going to be there. So, hey, cool.
Yeah.
Yay for E3 on that one. But, even with that, of course, I don't know. I'd still love to attend because I know if I go, I'm going to have to bring the wife and kids with because they like going to Los Angeles. And I know that if I could go and it's like, here's the keys to the car, go enjoy the beach. And I'll be here with Kyle for 8 hours to do this, probably wouldn't be an issue.
Open to close, man. I'd be there open to close.
Bingo. See, we're all set and ready to go.
This is one of those things. I really would like to go before, they entirely just do away with it. You always see those reports back on like G4 and even prior to that, just watching little blurbs on the internet that just getting inklings of what's going on, and I want to see that Nintendo booth. Nintendo always has a really cool booth.
Yeah, I would love to see. I think just anything in general. I think the smallest of the small up to the biggest of the big. It would just be, I think. I think it'd be sensory overload for everything. So.
For sure, sure.
But I guess we'll see what happens in 2022. But of course, with all that said, everybody, that is it for us in the news this week. I think the only other big thing, of course, that was in the news is that what is it? Deathloop got delayed.
Deathloop.
Yep,
delayed.
That got delayed by a couple months.
They are going to continue to work on it. This isn't a project that Microsoft's just going to shove aside now that they have Bethesda with them, as one of their things. So it has been stated that, they're still taking the time and care to produce a good game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. I have been reading that a lot, so maybe it's my turn to put that info out there for Bethesda and Microsoft that, don't worry, Sony fans, you're still getting Deathloop.
Yeah, it's just it keeps being put. Maybe it'll be pushed off enough that it's like it'll get outside of that contractual agreement and it'll be like, hey, it's a Xbox Series X exclusive, just because screw you or whatever. I don't know. Anything can happen there. But I think that was the only other big piece of gaming news, at least this week. So. With all that, of course, everybody, that is it for us this week on the news. Of course, if you didn't tune in to our news live stream this last week or see our update, of course, on Facebook earlier this week, a lot has changed with the NPCs. So what you see right now is just Kyle and I, of course, and that's it. Preston has stepped off to do his own thing on his own YouTube channel. If you go and search for Take Two Comics, or you actually go and look for the post I made, look for the link there. You can go and find him and subscribe to him there. Go catch up on what he does, both in the gaming stuff and some of his other side animation things he likes to do as well. And then, of course, Brittany likes to stream on Twitch. Unfortunately, I've not been able to get a hold of her Twitch handle, so that way we can get that shared out. But we'll do our best to try to figure that out for you guys and get that shared to you too. But in the meantime, of course, things are still gonna be a little slow just for a short period of time here as we figure some things out. But we at least are very appreciative that you're still tuning into us and hanging out with us while at least delivering the news for you. So thanks for that. But with that said, thanks everybody, and we will catch you guys all next week.
Laters.